AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
Welcome to the Alldus podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kelly. Part of our AI in Action series, I'm speaking to Cihan Aksakal, co-founder and chief innovation at Zenjob. Cihan, very welcome to the show today.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Before we get started into the work that Zenjob does, tell us a little bit about your background.
So my background is in tech. I'm let's say, classical tech founder, born and grown up here in Berlin. When I was a teenager, I started programming and knew quite soon, actually, that I want to found startups. This was fascinating for me. And then I started studying business computing here in Berlin as well, and worked at startups. And after I finished my studies, I founded a startup, was a retail ad network, pretty successful, and acquired by a publishing company. And this got me. And then I founded a fintech startup, which didn't work at all, to be honest. Yeah, but two of the investors who are now invested in my recent company, Zenjob, have been invested there as well. So I took two engineers. I met Frederick and Fritz, my co-founders at Zenjob, and 5 years ago, I founded my third company, Zenjob.
So you have it in your blood. You've had one relatively successful company, one that didn't work out at the time, and then you've gone and applied all your learnings into your third company, which is Zenjob, which is fantastic. So tell us a little bit about Zenjob and the problem that you're looking to solve.
So what we saw is that if you look at the labor market and look at the labor market 5 years ago, we saw that there most of the things are done offline on pen and paper, fax. Email was super modern, and the companies required a flexible solution because if people have a run to your store, you have a peak and you try to get stuff. And on the other side, we saw a lot of employees working in quite inflexible working models with one contract for one company only. And there was a trend to have a second job. And then we saw Netflix, which was giving people a choice how they consume media. And we thought about, hey, can we reach something similar with technology for the employment market, for the labor market, where the employees are on the weaker side of the equation? And then we said, okay, let's find a solution which will empower the workforce of the future.
So you're using technology as an enabler, and you've been very conscious from the get-go that you want technology to be that enabler rather than a manual process. Tell us how that works.
So maybe I can just give you an insight of the business model a little bit, because we are not a classical job search board or just making the matches, or a scheduling software for the companies. We are legally working as a temp staffing agency. So we employ all the people who download the app and apply, and they're on our payroll. Yeah, and we lend them out and charge every hour work to the company, and the company doesn't have to care about any administrative hassle. Yeah, and that means that if you want to grow with that, you have to really digitize and automate a lot, and you have to follow the local law. What we use tech for is actually to build this engine. Of course, we have the apps to onboard yourself, from all over Germany, and we have an app for the company to plan all the shifts. But what we have and what's not so visible from outside is we have a processing engine which is highly automated, which takes data from both sides and operates all the business automatically. And if you look at traditional temp agencies, they have a huge amount of people who are doing this manually, using a lot of Excel, pen and paper, and the phone, wherein we have this automated engine in the background.
When you were going through that process, was there a lot of trials and tribulations? Because I'm guessing there's quite a few EU regulations that you need to be kind of mindful for.
Yes, exactly. I mean, a few is there were a lot actually. The first 3 years, I have to admit, was more about how can we digitize this which law do we have to follow? How can we figure out how we can digitize this? Because the law was not written to allow people to digitize it by nature. So we had to figure out with every audit we had with the official authorities what's possible, what's not. So we had a lot of, you can call it R&D years, yeah, the first 3 years, and then we nailed it. And the last 2 years then became more about how can we scale this, yeah. And then beyond automation, using data and AI became more a challenge for us.
So tell us a little bit about some of the benefits that a customer will generate from using your product.
So we have this one magic moment if we sell and if customers book with us the first time. And it is like we promise, of course, we're better than the others, we're faster, and there is zero admin hustle and so on. But the companies first understand what we mean if they have an urgent need and nobody can deliver and they come to us. And what usually happens is we deliver, be it same day or next day, often next day. Yeah. We are able to provide 10, 50 people without a problem. And we currently do this even with hundreds of people for the vaccination centers in Berlin. And this is what catches the customer. Yeah? And then they start building a long-term relationship with us, ordering more with us, and doing the whole flexible staffing over our solution, even for longer-term jobs. And it's at the end, of course, the quality of the people we provide, because everybody has decided to work at a certain company because they got this job which matched their preferences in their app and applied willingly.
So when you look at that, when you're speaking to your end users and they're engaging with the product, what do they tell you about? Are they happy with the speed? Is it the kind of the reassurance that the people that are coming to work are of a good quality because of the references? Is there any kind of points that they recommend for other people to get involved in using this product?
For the talent side, yeah, this is how we call our employees. I mean, they're super happy because they have a choice and they can flexibly work where they want. And some optimize on commute, some optimize on how much they can earn or on the work days. And what they like is that they also get the money within the next 3 days, at least half of it, and the rest is the payroll by end of month. So this is kind of like, we have there some USPs which they really love, yeah. And what we hear more is people ask us to widen this because we're currently working mostly with students, but we will start actually in the next quarter, allowing also other user groups to have a side job over Zenjob. And on the other side, the companies, what they like is that we are fast and that they have really no administrative overhead with us, and they like the quality of the people. So we have very high average ratings for the talents, this is where the companies then start also between the stores telling each other, hey, have you tried out Zenjob? Because our customers, of course, use also other temp agencies, and we convince them store by store to use our solution.
That's really, really interesting. And I can see the benefits for both sides there. Where do you see the future going? Because we mentioned Netflix, that's a fantastic service in terms of this choice. You've got a recommendation engine that's pretty on point. And there's an element of surprise as well because of so many different new updates. And it really starts to understand in detail your preferences and your family's preferences depending on who's using it. Do you see this type of approach within the kind of temp staffing?
I mean, I think the entire way how we work is changing dramatically. Yeah, wherein in the past it was pretty common that you start at a company and go to pension there, in particular for the lower skilled jobs, is gone. And people need a solution how they can develop their skills, their careers, and how they can actually be sustainably grow. Yeah. Being probably in a segment which is not a highly demanded skill like being an engineer. Yeah. And I think we will see a lot of solutions which will give that people a choice. And this will mean that you're not doomed to stay a shelf stacker somewhere because you haven't chosen to be, but you will probably have an option to try out new things, try out how to do a cashier job. And maybe you would have not got an option if you would have not have a flexible marketplace, which allows you to do some side jobs with an app. Because what people underestimate that to earn your living, it's very hard to learn new skills and decide I will stop this. Yeah, and I think the more solutions we will have, who will give people a flexible choice to learn new skills on the side and to have a proper experience, the more they will develop into higher skill jobs.
And people want to be empowered to take on that direction and able to upskill themselves within their own time. And it is very, very, very challenging if you get stuck in a rut where you can't actually progress and go forward. And from my experience in the staffing industry, you want to kick on, you want to become a better version of yourself. And a lot of the times you don't necessarily know which direction to do that if it's not necessarily really, really clear. As well. So it's been really, really nice speaking to you today. I've been speaking to Cihan Aksakal, a co-founder and chief innovation officer at Zenjob. Cihan, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Mark.
You've been listening to the Alldus podcast as part of our AI in Action series. I'm the host, Chief Customer Officer at Alldus, Mark Kelly. If you're interested in this podcast or other podcasts, you'll find it on www.alldus.com/podcast, also where you get your podcasts, such as Apple, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Until next time, take care. Bye.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.